When NFL players go broke. From multi-million-dollar contracts to superstar fame, NFL players certainly live the high life. But what happens when the checks stop coming in? Here are 8 football stars who went from hefty paydays to being flat broke, starting with the controversial running back Adrian Peterson, who was first signed to the Vikings from 2007 to 2016 and played his last NFL game in 2021. He made 7 Pro Bowls and was one of the highest earning running backs in NFL history with over $100 million in career earnings. So where did it all go wrong? Well, Peterson wasn't very responsible with his money. For his 30th in 2015, he dropped over $1 million on a camel ride, dancers, snake charmers, and first-class travel for 300 guests. A year later, he racked up some pretty big loans to fund a new business with his advisor and pay off old debts. First, he borrowed $2.4 million from Crown Bank in April and defaulted. Then, later that same year, he took out another $5.2 million loan from a Pennsylvania lender. According to The Athletic, Peterson had defaulted on other loans, leading him to secure the $5.2 million loan from DVS on 26 October 2016. That money was to help pay $3.2 million to Thrive's specialty funding and $1.34 million to Crown Bank. He planned on paying them back in 2017, but an injured leg knocked him out of the Vikings' plans. So, without a team and a paycheck, he just couldn't cover the bills. With interest and fees piling up, the loan shot up to an $8.3 million judgment in 2021. And by 2024, that number had climbed to $12 million, resulting in the court sending in a receiver to seize his assets and even auction off some of his game memorabilia to make up for it. Just when you think it can't get any worse, on top of his child abuse charge from 2014 and his domestic violence charge in 2022, he got 2 arrest warrants in 2024 for missed child support hearings in Texas. Then in April 2025, Minnesota police cuffed him for a DWI. And to top it all off, he might face yet another assault charge very soon. Between his ongoing legal battles and growing debt, things have clearly gone downhill for him. While Adrian Peterson got to pour all his money down the drain, the next football star was cheated out of some of his. Clinton Portis is a former NFL running back whose career took off after the Denver Broncos drafted him in 2002 when he was just 21 years old. During his time there, he broke several franchise records, like scoring the most touchdowns in a single game and being the rookie with the most rushing yards. Following this, he was traded to the Washington Redskins in 2004, where he signed an 8-year contract worth over $50 million, which put him among the top earning running backs that season. This contract brought his total NFL career earnings to about $43 million, which should have had him set for life. So how did he go from millions to having only $150 in his bank account? On top of some lavish spending on cars, houses, and gambling during his career, he ended up having to retire in 2012 due to a string of injuries. And after that, he became a victim of some lousy financial choices, which he didn't even see coming. This is because his financial advisors, Jeff Rubin and Janef Brombaugh, blew through millions in his bank account on bad investments without ever getting his permission. This first was a $1 million investment in a failed casino venture. Then the second was a $3.1 million investment in a wealth Ponzi scheme. Brombaugh steered Portis and other NFL players to invest with Success Trade Securities, overseen by his former Stratton Oakmont colleague Faoud Ahmed, whose Ponzi scheme would unravel in 2013. Nearly $14 million of those investments vanished. As a result of these financial blunders, former professional football player Clinton Portis recently filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in Florida after reports revealed that he was facing debts of over $2.5 million. As bad as bankruptcy was, things got even worse for him in 2022 when he was sentenced to 6 months in federal prison for defrauding the NFL's retirement health plan.
So what they would do is they would file claims through the NFL plan and say, hey, we need this medical equipment, and they'd be reimbursed for the money, up to $50,000 in some cases. And in fact, they never needed the equipment. And most of the time, in all the cases, the equipment was never delivered.
Fast forward to 2025, he's put prison behind him and now works as running backs coach and run game coordinator for Delaware State University's football team. While Clinton Portis managed to retire with his reputation still intact, the same can't be said about the next football star. Travis Henry is a former NFL running back who played for 7 seasons and was drafted in the second round of the 2001 NFL Draft, 58th overall by the Buffalo Bills. He made the Pro Bowl in 2002 and ended up earning around $11 million during his career. In his 4 seasons with the Bills, he became the 4th leading rusher in the team's history. This was until injuries cost him his starting job in 2004, and unwilling to ride the bench, he wound up forcing a trade to the Tennessee Titans. A year later, Henry was suspended for 4 games for substance abuse, which kicked off a downward spiral. And although he bounced back from it in 2006, surpassing 5,000 career rushing yards, Titans released Henry instead of paying the $8.3 million bonus. Not long after, he signed a huge 5-year deal with the Denver Broncos, but his problems followed him. During the 2007 season, he tested positive for marijuana and nearly faced a year-long ban. He appealed and beat the suspension, but the NFL still enrolled him in its substance abuse program. Only a year into his 5-year deal, the Broncos cut him loose, with his coach openly calling out his inconsistent play. I don't think it really surprised anybody. They know the type of standard we demand, and if you don't step up to that standard, you're not going to be with us. Unsurprisingly, off-field, his personal life was just as chaotic. He reportedly fathered 11 children with 10 different women, and by 2009, he owed around $170,000 a year in child support. That same year, he was arrested for failing to keep up with the payments. But the most serious trouble came in 2008 when he was arrested again, this time by the DEA in connection with a large cocaine deal in Colorado, just a few months after his NFL suspension. And in 2009, after striking a deal with prosecutors, he pleaded guilty to conspiracy to possess cocaine with intent to distribute and was sentenced to 3 years in federal prison. As of 2025, with the legal issues, the drug problems, and the child support bills, but most, if not all, of the money he earned during his NFL days is long gone. Unlike the other stars on this list, this next one faced serious physical challenges throughout his career. William the Refrigerator Perry burst onto the scene as the Bears' 22nd overall pick in 1985. He wasn't just a defensive tackle. He scored a Super Bowl touchdown and became a pop culture icon. But decades later, his life looks very different. He signed a rookie deal that paid around $1.35 million over 4 years and included weight-related bonuses and penalties, so that if he kept the pounds off, he'd earn more. But that proved tough, and even his coaches had a hard time managing his weight. We had weigh-ins and we fined him, and it was fruitless after a while. He couldn't get it down at that point. Apart from football, a lot of Perry's cash came from endorsements, with appearances in ads for McDonald's, Coca-Cola, Frigidaire, and more. However, this all came to an end when his weight issues and injuries forced him into retirement in 1994. During his career, he had also developed a drinking problem that only got worse after retiring, and it wasn't 1 or 2 beers, it was a whole lot. And by 2016, things weren't looking great. After being diagnosed with Guillain-Barré syndrome, a rare nerve disorder, he ended up with diabetes, and his weight shot up past 400 pounds. On top of that, he reportedly owed hundreds of thousands of dollars to the IRS. As of 2025, William Perry now lives in a retirement facility, uses a wheelchair, and relies on Social Security, a small NFL pension, and disability insurance just to get by. He went from Super Bowl champion and TV star to living off disability checks, a tough ending for one of football's most beloved figures. While William Perry's vices during his career were food and alcohol, the next player on the list couldn't resist lavish accessories. Andre Rison joined the NFL in 1989 as the Colts' first-round pick. He led the league with 15 touchdown catches in 1993 and his 60 career touchdowns in just 6 seasons, only the 5th receiver ever to do it. After a solid run with the Colts, Rison signed a huge deal with the Cleveland Browns in 1995. It was a 5-year contract worth $17 million, and at the time, it was the biggest deal ever for a wide receiver. He later played for several other teams, including the Jaguars, Packers, Chiefs, and Raiders, before wrapping up his NFL career around 2000. But he wasn't done just yet. In 2004, he joined the Toronto Argonauts in the Canadian Football League and helped the team win the Grey Cup that year. So how did things fall apart? Off the field, Rison spent money like a king. He dropped 7 figures on jewelry and wasn't ashamed to admit it. I guarantee I spent $1 million on jewelry. We were draped in jewelry. He built a fleet of 50 luxury cars, including 8 Ferraris. And he even went as far as tossing $100 bills at clubs just for fun. We were making it snow. You start throwing $100 bills instead of 5s, so you got a competition going on now. In 2007, after blowing through over $19 million in NFL cash, he hit rock bottom and a federal judge forced Rison into bankruptcy. On top of that, he had major child support debts that ate into what was left of his money. Today, he's far from the star he was in the 90s and prefers to keep a low profile coaching university football. Unlike Andre Rison's spending woes, this next player found himself facing multiple legal charges. Chris McAlister is the lockdown corner who spent 11 seasons in the NFL. The Ravens picked him up in round 1 back in 1999, and he held down their secondary for a solid decade. He made waves early, returning a missed field goal 170 yards for a touchdown in 2002, an NFL record at the time, and earning his first Pro Bowl nod in 2003. In 2004, McAlister cashed in with a 7-year, $55 million deal, and by 2006, he was at his peak with 2 defensive touchdowns, another Pro Bowl trip, and his best all-around numbers. But then, in 2008, injuries started piling up, and his play got spotty, ending the season with the decision to have knee surgery. After a couple of rough seasons on injured reserve, the Ravens finally cut him loose in 2009, and of course, he reacted like any normal person would. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm still dealing with the shock of the whole thing. I can't imagine that this happened. He eventually landed with the Saints that same year, but that didn't last long since they also let him go just 2 months before their Super Bowl run. Off the field, McAlister ran into legal trouble too, with an airport disturbance, a DUI, and a very public child support fight with his ex-wife. In the court documents from that fight, he kept insisting he was flat broke. I have been unemployed since 2009. I have no income. I live in my parents' home and they provide me with my basic living expenses. Between injuries, legal fights, and costly support payments, it seems he was probably being honest about the fact that his $55 million fortune was non-existent. Fast forward to 2025, Chris hasn't made a big comeback yet, but he's currently lined up to host an event for his old team. Like many others on the list, the next star was also a big spender, but not in the usual way. Dermontti Dawson was one of the best offensive linemen in NFL history. He spent his entire 13-year career with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and at his peak, Dawson was the highest paid offensive lineman in Steelers history, making $4.2 million a year. He started off playing guard as a rookie, but quickly moved into the starting center role, and that's where he really made a name for himself. He was named first-team All-Pro 6 times and earned the nickname Dirt because of how he would drive defenders into the ground. Things started going south when the Steelers released him to save money and were unwilling to pay him a $1 million bonus since injuries had kept him off the field for most of his final 2 seasons. Over the course of his career, Dawson made about $11.6 million, but despite that, he ended up filing for bankruptcy. And his reason for how he ended up making this move was quite surprising. Today's real estate market and economic conditions, plus the fact that I own non-controlling minority interest in the entities which own the real estate, left me with limited options. These days, he's working as a sales executive, earning a modest living compared to what he once made on the field. This player has the wildest story yet. Antonio Brown shot to fame as one of the NFL's top receivers, breaking records with the Steelers after being drafted in the 6th round in 2010. With a staggering $69 million contract and a $19 million signing bonus, he was the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL. He led the league in receptions, receiving yards, and touchdowns, and made 6 Pro Bowls. But off the field, things came off the rails fast. His final NFL game in 2021 ended in chaos. After clashing with his coaches, he was caught on camera ripping off his uniform, flinging it to the fans, and sprinting across the end zone straight to the locker room mid-play. Just a year earlier in January 2020, Brown's problems had hit the headlines. He got into a fight with a moving truck driver.
Stop! Stop! Stop!
You can hear Brown yelling, and his girlfriend tells him to stop.
Through a reflection in the glass of Tumanov's truck, you see Brown put his hands on him.
Then pleaded no contest to felony burglary, simple battery, and criminal mischief, with the court ordering him to pay $1.2 million in damages in 2022. And in April 2023, Brown faced arrest again, this time for missing child support payments. With lawsuits piling up, Brown's only option was to file for bankruptcy. He reported only $50,000 in assets, a shock compared to the $80 million he pulled in as a pro. Strangely, he still can't explain where all this money went, and he's given a new excuse in nearly every interview. First, he implied he'd been conned through lawsuits. You know, anybody can sue you, take you for whatever you got. Then he blamed it on his family. The people I had in my life, they just took the money that I made in the NFL and they didn't make the money mine no more. They put that away from me. Family, generations, and trust, and then threw it out there. After that, he shifted it back to himself. I spent all of it. I blew all my money. I blew everything. Then finally, he downplayed the situation. I'm not broke, but I'm fractured. As if bankruptcy wasn't bad enough, in May 2025, Miami prosecutors hit him with an attempted murder charge, alleging he grabbed a guard's gun at a celebrity boxing event and fired 2 shots, with one of the shots grazing the victim's neck. As of today, Antonio is wanted by the cops, but still hasn't turned himself in because he's traveling in the Middle East. With such a serious charge hanging over his head, his financial troubles are bound to get worse. If you enjoyed this video, you'll definitely enjoy these ones as well. And don't forget to subscribe.